Previously, our ancestors fought to preserve our lands, left their inheritance to their descendants, sacrificing their lives. Went through difficult times, standing up shoulder to shoulder. And all this so that we build a new future for the whole country.
So we started to act. And here's that moment. At that time, I was very scared. For Kazakhs, Prime Minister of Canada.
At this moment, the UN and Food and Agriculture Organization.
Our joy knew no bounds at all.
Казахстанская земля! Встречай лучшую генетику! Ура!
Chapter 7. Justice.
We have built our own system of justice.
Studying new technologies and new systems, we came to the conclusion that in terms of justice, it is necessary to turn to a long-forgotten system that existed 300 years ago and has proven its effectiveness: institution of bees. Everyone remembers such bees as Aytekebi, Tolebi, Kazabekbi. The people respected and honored them for their honesty and justice. Shokan Walihanov mentioned in his writings that even Russian merchants turned to and trusted the court of bees. 1,200 effective managers present candidates for the position of bee who are not direct relatives and have no criminal record. The 3 bees who have received the largest number of votes are elected as senior bees. To become a candidate for the position of bee, applicants undergo free online training at the University of the Fund and receive a license. The fund undertakes to pay the salary in the amount of $20,000 per month. Bee can be removed from office for corruption and unfair decisions by effective managers or the fund. But at the same time, the new bee is elected by effective managers only. Decisions of bees are final and are not subject to appeal. What are the duties and requirements for a bee? Bee oversees equity in the fund system and maintains a fair balance between effective managers and the fund, solves issues on insurance payments, monitors a decrease or increase of the credit rating. Bee's work will be based on the corporate code of justice of our fund, where changes and additions can be made by effective manager and the fund in the online SAP system. Court of the International Financial Center Astana. To protect foreign investments and work with international financial institutions, the fund and all its legal structures and effective managers operate under the case law of England and Wales and are registered in the AIFC. The AIFC court is independent in its activities and is not part of the judicial system of the Republic of Kazakhstan. The hearings are held on the territory of the AIFC, where the judges are the English lords. The legitimacy of this court is written in the constitutional law of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Credit rating system. How does this system work and what does the credit rating depend on? From the university. Once a person has completed training, he enters the fund system and the base credit rating depends on the results of the test he passed at the university. Good grades, high base credit rating. Low grades, low rating. From the Knowledge Center. If an effective manager correctly follows the recommendations of the Knowledge Center, his credit rating rises. If he does not follow the recommendations, his credit rating drops. From the bank. If an effective manager and his employees have high payment discipline, then the credit rating increases. If it is low, it falls accordingly. Moreover, as the credit rating grows, such products as mortgages, car loans, and education of children abroad are opened. And if they decrease, accordingly, these loan products are closed. Realizing that a credit rating directly affects employees' life. And this rating can, through corruption, be overstated, or through unfairness from the fund understatement. In this regard, it was decided that the B will confirm the increase or decrease of the credit rating In order to strengthen teamwork, the credit ratings of his employees directly depend on the credit rating of an effective manager. That is, if an effective manager shows low results, then the rating of the entire team decreases. Accordingly, the interest rate on mortgages and other loan products and insurance increases. Consequently, with positive results, the credit rating increases, and interest rates on credit products and insurance premiums become cheaper. Moreover, if the effective manager or his employee receives the most negative credit rating, they are excluded from the system. Also, exclusion from the system can be due to theft and corruption. Fighting corruption and theft. It is no secret that corruption and theft are still present in many structures. Corruption is a parasite of the system, and we must root it out. All this is done to ensure that all participants in the system will be able to live happily in the villages. Long time ago, in the Wild West, when banditry and lawlessness flourished, law enforcement agencies could not call people to order. And then, the US authorities resorted to one cunning but very effective tool: bounty hunters. How it works. Any citizen of Kazakhstan has the right to undergo online training at the University of the Fund to gain knowledge about the methods and mechanisms of giving bribes through sophisticated schemes, directly through relatives, friends, classmates, and so on. He can obtain a license online, and the procedure is free and confidential. After obtaining a license, Hunter can start its activities. Mechanism of action. The Fund's anti-corruption website will display a price list for each participant in the system. For example, for the senior B, $50,000. For a local B, $30,000. For a credit manager, $20,000. For the warehouse manager, $10,000, and etc. The bounty hunter must identify people taking bribes. The Fund Security Service will provide funds to ensure the payment of the bribe. The hunter must submit the collected dirt to the Security Service, which, together with B, verifies the accuracy of the information provided. After B and Security Service confirm the facts of corruption or theft, Hunter receives his reward according to the price list, and the corrupt official is excluded from the system without the right to reapply and is handed over to the officials of state law enforcement agencies. If a corrupt official has an unpaid mortgage or car loan, these assets are seized and transferred to the fund's income. If all loans are paid off, the property remains with him. Employees of the security service of the fund are motivated to bring the offender to criminal responsibility, and for each guilty person who has received a sentence of imprisonment, they receive an additional bonus in the amount of $3,000 to $5,000. If the B, together with the security service, unreasonably close the corruption case, the hunter has the right to appeal to the chairman of the fund, who will consider the case even if the corruption is proven. The hunter receives a reward for both the B and the corruptor. Hunters work anonymously and only for reward. The identity of each corrupt official and the thief will be published on the fund's website. The number of hunters is unlimited. Chapter 8. Field. Kazakhstan has each element of Mendeleev's periodic table, and we will use them in our favor. What are mineral fertilizers for? All the nutrients that plants need are contained in the soil, but with regular cultivation of crops in the same area, the soil begins to deplete, and the content of the elements necessary for plant growth in it inevitably decreases. The use of mineral fertilizers in agriculture allows you to replenish the reserves of elements in the soil and significantly increase the yield. The project includes the development of a phosphorite deposit and the construction of a plant for the production of mineral fertilizers with a capacity of 1,600,000 tons per year. This plant will fully cover the needs of the fund for such mineral fertilizers as amorphose, sulfur amorphose, and phosphoric flour. As you know, Due to high subsidies in Europe, the price of mineral fertilizers in the market is overstated and not fair. The presence of a deposit and a plant in the fund system will halve the price of mineral fertilizers. The economic benefits for the country are obvious, because Kazakhstan ranks second in the world in terms of phosphorus reserves, from which mineral fertilizers are produced. Moreover, such domestic giants in the oil sector as Karachaganak Petroleum Operating, Tengishevroil, and COC are ready to provide granular sulfur for free, which is also essential for the production of sulfur MIFOs. Chapter 9. Procurement Center.
My task was to halve the cost of all purchased goods.
The procurement center consists of 100 local warehouses and is designed for the wholesale purchase of goods for 5 million hectares of cultivated areas. When purchasing a large number of goods, it is possible to get discounts of up to 50% from such world giants as Bayer, Syngenta, BASF, DuPont, Yara, and many others. The main goal of the procurement center is the centralized procurement of spare parts, inoculants, liquid fertilizers, protective equipment, and other chemicals for effective managers, as well as diesel fuel needed for field work. Procurement Center in its work is guided by the analytical information of the Knowledge Center and forms an annual stock of all necessary goods. Thus, the whole structure is built on the creation of a full service under a full support system for productive work and convenience. Chapter 10. Bank. When I was designing a bank, I focused on making money available and cheap. This is the first bank in Kazakhstan that does not give money but provides goods and services. Social surveys have shown that if a person is given direct access to credit money, he is tempted to spend it for other purposes. To solve this problem, we borrowed the technology of Islamic banks. Agro Invest Bank. The main task of the bank is full financial support of the entire ecosystem of the fund. How will it work? An effective manager opens an account in our bank. With the help of big data technologies, such programs as SAP, Cropio, all information about an effective manager, about his land, about the education of his employees, and much more is available. Due to this data, decisions are made in 1 second. After making a decision for an effective manager, such credit products are opened as purchase of seeds, access to the goods of the procurement center, access to MTS services, and for MTS access to equipment leasing. By attracting money through UN programs, the bank will issue loans from 4 to 7% per annum. The interest rate is fully linked to the borrower's credit rating. All premium payments from loan products are covered by an effective manager. The bank will issue its own credit cards, and at the stage of project development, until effective managers come to profit, the bank will directly credit salaries to the cards of all employees of effective managers. After the effective manager reaps the harvest and makes a profit, the bank will write off the loan money from his income with interest. And on top of that, Kazakhstan has very strong problems with devaluation. And to solve this problem, the bank will pay salaries in dollars or euros. Investment protection. Due to the presence of his own escrow account, special conditional account, the investor gets access to all cash flows for each member of the fund ecosystem. The system of pre-qualification of suppliers approved by the investor allows control over the targeted use of funds. All payments and repayment of loans are provided by the closed ecosystem of the fund. All funds circulate in one system of the bank, which significantly reduces any types of risks to a minimum. The scoring system makes it possible to make instant and high-quality decisions. The online customer service system makes it possible not to maintain branches and a large staff, and for the system members to receive a full range of services in one click. Chapter 11. International Trade. When we were creating a trading house, we had to find an answer to the main question: how to trade internationally without having access to the ocean. An effective manager cooperating with the fund will be relieved of the need to study and analyze the markets, check the solvency of clients, since the entire crop harvested by the farmer will be purchased by the fund's trading house. In other words, it has guaranteed sales. How will it work? At the beginning of the year, the trading house and an effective manager enter into a futures contract for the entire crop with a fixed discount. Having concluded a contract with a trading house, an effective manager goes to the bank, which accepts this contract as collateral and opens financing. The trading house, analyzing world production, demand and crop rotation, issues directives to effective manager, which crops to sow and in what volume. Under this directive, the seed bank dispenses seeds to an effective manager. This mechanism is needed to avoid overproduction and the risk of a collapse in prices in foreign markets, since the total productivity of all farms will be about 20 million tons of products annually. In September, Trade House buys the harvest at the Chicago Stock Exchange quotes, minus the logistics and the trading house premium, which was stipulated at the beginning of the year in a futures contract. An effective manager transfers the harvest to the trading house and receives his profit minus all obligations to the bank. Considering that the purchase is made according to the quotes of the Chicago Stock Exchange, each effective manager gets the opportunity to earn $1 million a year. But to buy at high exchange prices, you need to have at least access to the ocean. For this, we need swap operations. If we look closely at the map, we will see that only about 10% of the total land area of China is suitable for growing crops, and the remaining 90% of the land is completely unusable. Delivery of wheat to the west of China is very expensive. And if you look closely at the map of Kazakhstan, we see that Kazakhstan has a very expensive access to the ocean due to its remoteness. Now, how can we help each other? The answer is simple: exchange. 500 million people live on 90% of China's territory. We'll be provided with Kazakhstani wheat, and in return, we will pick up Chinese wheat from the southern ports of China to customers such as Japan, Korea, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, and many others. China saves money on logistics. We get a cheap way to the ocean. Everything is in the black. Once an effective manager and the country as a whole get such opportunities through the trading house and swap operations, the flow of profits increases everywhere and the standard of living rises. We consider it fair that our fellow citizens receive income at the level of American and Canadian farmers. For these purposes, we have assigned an income of each effective manager in the amount of $1 million or more. Chapter 12: The Reserve Fund. I set myself the task of creating the first fair insurance fund in Kazakhstan. The main advantage of the insurance fund: it is non-profit and reserve. Commercial insurance funds are aimed at making a profit, and the profit they receive from unpaid insurance claims. As a result, we see small letters in contracts, low insurance premiums, and smart lawyers who win any hearings in favor of the insurance fund. They do their best not to pay damages from the insured event. To avoid such injustice, the fund offers a different scheme of work. The farmer pays a compulsory insurance premium annually, which is 10% of his production cost. The fund supports the farmer and pays 10% of the premium from its own funds for the effective manager. So the fund shares the risks with the farmer and shows interest in his success. As a result, we're approaching the global standard of insurance organizations, which states that for areas of high-risk farming, the insurance premium shouldn't be less than 20% of the production cost. In addition to the harvest, all equipment and livestock are also insured. Decisions on the occurrence of an insured event and payments are made by B, who are chosen by the effective managers. These Bs are responsible for decisions of insurance payments. An independent opinion on a natural disaster and caused damage is provided by the Knowledge Center. This is very important for investors, since the mechanism guarantees the return of all funds and protection from default and the result of natural disasters. Chapter 13. From Words to Deeds. 2020 was an extremely dry year. Therefore, the average yield of third and fourth quality class wheat in Kazakhstan was 8-10 centners per hectare. We received tremendous results, namely, for wheat, the average yield is 35 centners per hectare, 400% higher than the average yield in Kazakhstan. The quality of wheat corresponds to the first-class high pro, which in turn leads us to the export markets of China, Italy, Japan, and other countries. For 30 years, Kazakhstan's farmers have not been able to obtain similar result. According to World Stock Quotes, the high pro wheat price is 50% higher than the price of ordinary wheat. For soy, in the northern regions of Kazakhstan, 90% of the previously imported soybeans had not taken root. The rest had given a low yield of 3-5 centners per hectare. Based on the results of 3 non-irrigated lands, we have obtained an average yield of 20 centners per hectare. The productivity is 500% higher. The successful cultivation of soybeans is strategically important for the economy of Kazakhstan. China is the main consumer of soybeans. China consumes soybeans worth $70 billion a year. Therefore, as part of the current trade war between China and the United States, a huge market of $20 billion a year is opening up that can be fully covered by us. The price of soybeans on the Chinese stock exchange is about $1,000, which is 5 times higher than the average price of wheat. We brought the seeds, sowed them on 3 types of soils: chestnut, dark chestnut, black soil. The sowing was implemented on farms: Agrofirm Rodina, SK Agro 2050 LP, Akmola Phoenix JSC. We brought in the most popular Canadian crops and sowed them for reproduction in Kazakhstan, with scientific consulting and cooperation with Kazakh Agriculture Technical University of Seyfulin and foreign experts. This year, for the first time, together with the TDFA, we carried out experimental sowing of foreign seeds and the foreign selection on the land of the Rodina agricultural firm. Today, we can state that the seedlings were friendly and the development of plants makes us gratified. Besides, on our fields we have a specific grain yield of 35 centners per hectare. For the soybeans, very good seedlings, great development of plants. In general, the plants grow very well.
According to the yield of this field, it's somewhere between 32 to 36 centners per hectare. In addition, we can state that for fertilized fields treated with stimulants, the results are more than 40 centners per hectare. Of course, due to the conditions of the dry steppe zone of chestnut soils, it's impressive to find out this level of productivity. This field has been without fertilization for more than 15 years, means without a single drop of fertilizer. For all these 15 years, 15 crops have been harvested, which means it has used lots of nutrient elements. Therefore, if we apply enough of nutrients, elements, fertilizers, then we can expect a yield of 40 and more centners per hectare. For the first time on this farm and this field. This plant surprised us very much due to its growing results, because the yield level of this field is more than 20 centners per hectare. Based on the data for soybeans in Kazakhstan, the average yield is 20.3 centners per hectare, but the result considers the irrigation of the plant. On the other hand, this soybeans without irrigation, so it's a unique variety.
Intermittent and sharp sprout of the mass, very intense flowering. Today there are legumes on every plant. The frequency of the beans is high, so there won't be any problems with harvesting. The varieties of the soybean can reach a yield of 2 and more tons. However, even though it was an extremely dry year, The yield is around 35 to 40 centners.
Based on the severely arid conditions of the year 2020, the yield of durum soft wheat can reach 30-35 centners per hectare.
For more than 5 years, we have been experimenting with different varieties on this land, without irrigation. I want to mention that this year shows very interesting results, because we have never had this kind of result. Here it is. The yield of this variety is up to 2 tons. The yield of soybeans shows an average of 25 centners per hectare. Durum wheat was brought from Canada. It has shown the resistance to many stressors of this year. From this field, looks like we can get a yield of about 35 centners per hectare.
The given samples of durum, soft wheat, and barley have been analyzed for the quality of the grains and seeds. Also, the protein content of all samples was not below 14.3%, and for durum, above 17.9%. According to the requirements, this result is considered as the first-class harvested wheat. Therefore, all this grain meets the requirements of the world market for bread wheat.
TDFA also does trials in the fields. They do many things with different nutrients, soil amendments, foliar applications, and so on. So I'm very excited to work with.
In the next episode. How to become an effective manager. How can we together build 100 villages of our dreams with a standard of living no worse than in cities, and maybe even better? How will we create the World Food Bank in Kazakhstan? And now official appeal to the people of Kazakhstan, the government, investors, and all food importing countries. With the faith in the Creator and in a bright future.